If you're someone who thinks manga is stupid or it's not real reading or that I'm stupid for reading it and you don't want to hear about that, guess what? You don't have to hear about it. You can just leave. You can just meander on back to wherever you came from and I will never know the difference. Now, what you're not going to do is leave a hateful comment. You're not, okay? Do you know why? Because I don't care. I was going to elaborate on that, but really that's the beginning and end of it. I don't care. Hello, Katie Colson here. Welcome back to my channel. And today we're gonna do a vlog that I have been planning for so long and I keep talking myself out of it. But what I wanna do is read all 20 volumes of The Promised Neverland. Popping in real quick to tell you the actual purpose of this video and how you can utilize it for yourself. So I'm going to be timestamping every single volume. So if there is a couple of them that you've read and maybe you do not have the ability to acquire the rest of the series or the time or the patience and you wanna know everything that happens in a more succinct, quick way, then you can just go to volume 3 because you've read the first 2 and then you can pick up from there. Or if you're reading the series and it's been a minute and you need to pick it back up again and say you were on volume 12 and you're like, I don't want to have to reread all 12 volumes to then pick it up to read 13 and on, you can watch this video until volume 13, stop it, and then continue with the series and use this as kind of like a flashback, reminding you what happens. So that is the purpose. Sorry, I forgot to say it in the intro. Back to Past Me. Okay, let me tell you the summary of the series first. And this book, this is set in Gracefield House Orphanage. And we have a bunch of kids between like newborn to almost 12. Our main characters are these 3 on the front. We have Emma, Norman, and Ray. They are all about 11 and a half, okay? Now in this orphanage, everything's amazing, cute, oh my God, we all love each other. And they're all being raised by this one woman named Mother. And she runs this orphanage. And every day she tests them very diligently on their IQ. And they don't know why. There's this like giant wall that surrounds the orphanage and they cannot go outside, okay? And whenever someone is about to turn 12, they mysteriously get adopted. Oh, cool, fun. But then they never hear from those kids again, even though they were family. And they are just deluding themselves into believing, oh, well, it's because, they're just so happy with their adopted family that they never write us. Okay, well, this volume is when these incredibly intelligent children, they're the highest ranking kids in the school in terms of intelligence, start to kind of question that a little bit, and then they go to the gate, and what they see out there is terrifying. So let's hop in to the review of volume number 1. So what we learn in this is that what is happening outside of the gate is that this orphanage is really a harvesting ground for children's brains so that they can be cultivated and aged up and then sent out to demons for them to eat. Basically, what they do is every day they take this test and whoever gets the lowest score gets shipped out because it's more like fast food. Like it's what the demons are eating in the meantime while they wait for their delicacy. And the delicacy is that whoever is the smartest, they stay at the school until they're 12. And when they're 12, when their their frontal lobe is fully formed, they get sent out as like the fillet, like this is the bone and ribeye for these monsters. Connie, this little girl that goes here, she gets adopted. But she leaves her bunny behind. And Emma's like, she would never leave that behind. We should go try to catch her at the gate and give it to her. Well, they go to the gate and they see that Connie's dead body. It's disgusting. It's terrifying. And then the monsters are coming and they're like, what is going on? Oh my God. And then like their whole perception of this house and mom as the caretaker is ruined, but they don't want her to know because then they'll die. At the very end, they realize that they have tracking devices in their ears and that it was put into them when they were a newborn baby. That's why they don't have a scar. And now they're going to try to calculate a way to escape this house. So on to volume number 2. And Sister Crone is playing games in this book, okay? So she wants to become a mother. And in order to do that, instead of waiting and waiting and waiting, she wants to kill Isabel, like this mom. So she's trying to figure out what Isabel's hiding and why her kids are so special and like what's going on. But what's amazing is that at the same time as this game is being played by Sister Crone, the other game that's being played is that tag is how these 3 kids are training to escape this facility because they don't want to tell the other kids what's going on and scare them and the possibility of them telling mom what's happening. So they are training them to be like physically able and to physically be able to run faster than the adults, to be able to hide from them, be able to tell when somebody's coming, where they've been, track footsteps, all this stuff, but telling them it's just to make them better at tag. But here's the thing. At the end of the last volume, we also find out that there has to be a way that mom is learning this information because it can't just be the ear thing. And they're like, there's got to be a traitor among us. And you find out in this one that it's Ray. It's Ray. Oh, what? So for the last 6 years, not even just recently, for the last 6 years, and he's almost 12, half of his life, he has been mother's minion, okay? But we find out that he's doing it to keep them safe. But whenever they find out that it's him, they're like, I want to hit you. I want to hit you so bad, but like, okay, to help us get out of here, like, let's do this. And he's like, perfect. I have got a way. Let's do it. One mystery that gets brought up is Minerva. And it's that the books, like say they have bookshelves like this, and those books came from the outside world somehow. And a lot of them have these library stamps that says from the library of Minerva. This Minerva is leaving a little clue in each book. And we only find that out at the end. So we don't know what it is. So hopefully I'm hitting you up on this day with volume 3. So in this, Dawn and Gilda are brought into the fold. They're probably like just below the top tier of where Emma and Norman and all of them are at on terms of intelligence. And they subsequently break into mom's like hidden bunker where she can communicate with the higher ups and whoever's in charge of this whole operation. When they do, they find a bunch of toys from the children who have been previously adopted. And they realize they're not going to escape and go try to save the kids. The kids are dead. So Dawn has a huge meltdown. They have a huge fight. Fists are thrown, collars grabbed, tears shed, and then more tears are shed as they make up. Their family, adorable, cute. We love it. What we don't love is that Sister Crone sees and hears this entire thing. And she comes in and like, surprise, bitch. Bet you didn't think you'd see me. And I know everything. And right as they are shitting their pants, like, oh my God, we are going to die. Absolutely. Sister Crone busts in with the plot twist and is like, we should team up. Mother, yeah, I hate her. You think you hate her? I hate her. Okay, I want her job actually. So I'm gonna let y'all escape. And that's gonna make Mother look like shot. And then I can dethrone her and take her place. And then I'm only losing 5 kids, like y'all can go. But Sister Crone actually reveals a lot of very important information to us. So she reveals that all mothers used to be sisters like her who used to be children at Gracefield orphanages, but there are many of them. When they turn 12, upon one of the mother's recommendations, a 12-year-old girl with the highest intelligence can get the opportunity to train to become a mother or die. So, but it's not just that simple. You have to go to a separate orphanage where these 12-year-old girls, all basically Hunger Games, have to like kind of kill each other, like to decide which one of them are going to become mothers. And if you don't become a mother, you die. And so now we know that the mothers have gone through a lot of shit and are crazy. But plot twist, Isabel pops up while Sister Crone is looking for the evidence. And she's like, oh, hey, here's a letter for you. Just thought you should read this. It's from headquarters. But she's been chosen to become mother of House 4. And Crone is like, well, I have to go. I cannot defy a direct order, but this is definitely a trap. But she goes. And the grandmother, who's like above the mothers, the grandmother, Crone is like, listen, and she tells her this whole thing, tells her all the evidence. And grandmother's like, so what? Isabel's important to me. And what Isabel's doing is important to me. And I already know everything you're talking about, but she has it handled. And Isabel's more important than you. And you were like literally never going to take her place anyway. So they just kill her. Crazy. Are you kidding me? Okay. So the kids set up this inspection. They're going to Ray is going to distract mom. And then Emma and Norman are going to go to the wall to look out and inspect and see what's going on. But when Ray goes to mom, she already knows what he's doing. She already knows she is like 10 steps ahead of them, locks him in the closet and is like, stay there. I've actually decided you're not useful to me anymore and I'm going to ship you out. She goes, chases them down and is like, psych, I got you. And Emma like tackles mom and is like, Norman, run. You've got to finish the inspection. Mom, oh my God. Mom breaks Emma's leg. Just in her hands, just breaks her leg and is like, you can't run because your leg's broken. So what are you going to do now? Norman, are you going to run? Are you going to leave her behind? And then that's how it ends. Oh my God, crazy. So in this one, we start out very fast approaching Norman's 12th birthday. Norman is like, I don't want to die, but if I don't get shipped out, they're gonna send Emma or Ray in my place, and I can't let that happen. So he basically like settles in himself that he has to die for the plan to go on. He goes to get shipped off. Emma loses it, tackles him to the ground, and is like, I'll distract mom, escape. And Norman is like, what are you doing? Stop. And they have this like kind of secret conversation. After this conversation, which we'll circle back to, Ray gives up. He says, I'm tired. I've been planning this for 6 years and it just fell apart. I can't do it again. And Emma gives up because of the heartbroken like tragedy of losing Norman. But really neither of them gave up. They've been working on two separate plans, where Ray's plan is that he is going on the evening before his 12th birthday, he's going to set himself on fire. That will be a distraction where Emma and the rest of the children can't escape. But here's the thing. The conversation that Emma and Norman were actually having was Norman telling her, I know Ray's plan because Norman found the accelerant that Ray had hidden. And I have a counter plan to use Ray's plan to help us, but also save Ray. At the second that Ray goes to kill himself, Emma catches the match in her hand and is like, no, I'm here to save you. And then the younger kids come in and Ray's like, what are they doing here? They don't know anything. And Emma's like, oh, no. Over the last 2 months, Dawn, Gilda, and I have been slowly initiating all of the kids and telling them what's going on. The girls have cut off their hair. They all have like clumps of hair and they have meat from the kitchen, and they lay it all out in a pile and set that on fire because it's going to smell like a dead body. Mom comes in and is like, oh my God, this is like Ray's dead. And she's trying to find Emma, and all she finds is the ear because Emma cut her own ear off. What? Are you kidding me? Oh my God. And then it cuts to all of them running away. When Ray comes up and looks around and sees everyone that for the last 2 months has been working their absolute hardest and keeping the secret to save his life. It was so fucking sweet. So at the last second of the volume, Ray is like, is this everybody? Oh, no, it's not. Because mom goes to run and then you hear, Mom, and it's Phil. Phil, the sweetest, like most intelligent of the tiny kids, is like, Mom, where are you going? So no, she has to take a kid with her. Let's move on to volume 5. Volume 5, this is where we realize that the plan is actually to leave behind all the kids that are 5 years old and under, because you don't get shipped out until you're 6. They would have made escaping basically impossible because the 5-year-olds and under, like, they either can't walk, they can't run, or they can't run fast. She says they're gonna go and escape and figure out this world and figure out headquarters, figure out the demons, and that they're gonna come back for them before the first one turns 6. So they have like a year that they have before one of the kids is going to get shipped off. And Phil, the best 5-year-old, I'm obsessed with him. Phil is the only one that Emma tells what's going on. He's the smartest of all the 5-year-olds. And he says that he is willing to stay and lead this troop, of children, because he knows that Emma's not going to abandon him. So basically, we escape Gracefield House, and we realize that even nature is against these children, because not only are they being hunted by these demon pursuers, but also a bunch of like poisonous, like man-eating plants that are trying to kill them. But then the demon pursuers catch up and Ray leads them in one direction. And then Emma, who had her ear cut off, obviously, and didn't bandage it very well, she ends up passing out because of blood loss. And when that happens, these 2 new characters show up, and the girl saves Emma and the guy saves Ray. That's where we end off. But the biggest plot twist in this volume, Ray is Isabel, the mother. Her son. Ray is mom's actual son. Oh my God. Volume 6. So basically we are introduced to Sanju and Mujika. I'm sorry, I just now realized that I was getting Sanju and Mujika confused in this entire clip. So every time I say one name, I actually mean the other person. Wow. They are demons, but because of, quote, religious reasons, they do not believe on harvesting human meat. so they're not going to eat them. And they are helping them learn how to survive in this world and telling them like, oh, this is the location you're looking for. Well, this is the way you're going to have to go to get there because you're going to run into less demons and such and so forth. And then Mujika tells her that there's a demon world and a human world and that they're completely separate. And that 1,000 years ago, they separated these worlds and created a pact that said that they wouldn't hunt each other anymore because it had been going on for so long that they'd been killing each other. And in this pact, they agreed that demons would be allowed to harvest human meat. And he also reveals that the Gracefield house, there's only 4 of them. All the other houses, in which there are a lot, are just slaughterhouse. It's just mass production. These kids are just hooked up to like IVs that like fatten them up for the slaughter. And then as they're going to search for Minerva, Sanju pulls Emma aside, gives her an amulet that she says will protect her, and tells her, you need to search for the 7 walls because the life that you're looking for is beyond them. When they finally get to Minerva's house, it ends up being a bunker underground, and they find one person there. And this one person at the very end is just like, hey, what's up? Bet you're hungry and tired from that long journey. And he just looks like a ratty like bum. And that's all we know. So let's move on to volume 7. Volume 7. We still don't know the name of this guy who they find in the shelter, but basically he tells them that 13 years ago, a group of him and a bunch of other children all escaped a similar Gracefield house and had also been given clues from Minerva, and they went to this location to find him, but Minerva wasn't there, and in the 13 years, he's never shown back up. So all we know is that all of the kids that this guy escaped with are all dead, but we don't know how they died. He does not want these kids there. He doesn't want them to deplenish his food rations, is what he says. So he holds a gun to Emma's head and is like, if y'all don't get out of here, I'm gonna kill her. And Emma, being the Leo she is, punches him in the nuts and is like, that's not the game we're playing. So they tie him to the table and they take over the house. Now, they discover a letter from Minerva, and it says, I'm sorry I couldn't be there when you arrived, but if you want a safe place to live, the bunker is yours. But if you want more, then come to this location. They decide it is too dangerous for all of them to go on a second expedition, but it's also too dangerous to leave the younger children with this mystery man. So Ray rigs the entire shelter with explosives. And then Emma goes to the guy and is like, if you don't agree to be Ray and I's tour guide on this expedition, we're blowing this place up. And they're serious. It was amazing. It was so dramatic. Gilda, super smart, stops the guy and is like, I understand it's going to be dangerous, but if at least one of them doesn't come back alive with you, I will blow this place up. And we will find somewhere else to live. And he's like, God dang it. So they set out on the journey, and barely into the journey, they are attacked by a bunch of demons. And that's where we end this one, is them running for their lives. Volume 8. In this, we discover in the very beginning that the demons' one weakness, because they can just regenerate, okay? Their one weakness is their eyes, and that's why the intellectual demons all wear masks. So they get out of this situation that they were being attacked by demons by Emma throws an axe and it hits it in the eye and it dies. After that, Emma and the mystery man have a heart-to-heart. We discover that 13 years ago, what actually happened with this guy and his family is that they died so that he had a chance of survival, because they were being chased by poachers and they knew that he had the best likelihood of surviving and continuing the fight. So they basically died in his place. And then while they're having this talk, Emma is captured by the poachers and taken to Goldie Pond. And Goldie Pond is basically an amusement park for rich man-eaters, like for rich demons. And they pay off one of the orphanages to get children. So instead of them being shipped out to the headquarters, they pay to take some of the children every month, will hunt them for sport. Emma finds herself there and she tries her best to save as many of these kids as she can, but she loses 4 on the first day. But because she shows so much promise, she's taken to a group of older kids that are like, we've been surviving here for years. There is one adult human that is living in this amusement park, and he's lived here for the last 13 years. Does 13 years sound familiar? Oh, yeah, it does. Because it's Lucas. It's Lucas who is the mystery man. We still don't know his name. That was his best friend that he thought died, which all the other kids did die. But he says he found what Minerva had led them to, and it's a door. But he's never been able to open it because he doesn't have the pin, but Emma does. And he's like, come with me and we'll go and hunt this down and find what Minerva left for us. But oh my God, this was good. Volume 9, Emma and Lucas open the door that leads to an actual golden pond, but there's a floating building in the middle of it. There's an elevator, and they're like, oh my God, is this like an elevator to the human world? When they go to try to make it work, a telephone rings, and it is a recorded message from Minerva. He says that his real name is James Rattray, and he is a descendant of the clan that came up with the promise 1,000 years ago. So he is supposed to be one of the people that is upholding this promise and making sure that it's kept between the humans and the demons, which means he is also upholding the farms where the children are being harvested, because that is something in the promise, is that they're able to do that. But his humanity is kind of getting to him. But he builds Goldie Pond as a safe space and a shelter that when the children escape, they can go there and they can choose to live there, or they can choose to get on the elevator and go to the human world. But the problem with that is that he was discovered in 2031. He says that he was betrayed by somebody he trusted, and it turns out he was betrayed by Peter Rattray, which was his brother, his younger brother. His brother does not believe in the same things that James does, and he outs him and sends him to death. But on the recording, James says this path has been closed, but that there are other paths, and they are in the houses. They're in the houses of the intellectual children. Gracefield House had a portal to the human world the whole freaking time. What? So they go to the desk drawer and they find a microchip that when they put it in the pin, pops up all this information, but one of which is the plans on a new experimental farm. Okay, I have to jump back a little bit because I forgot to mention that there's a character named Adam at Goldie Pond that is this giant boy who doesn't really understand anything. He's very simple, and he only says one thing over and over again. And the only thing he says is 22194. 22194 was Norman's ID, his tattoo. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Norman is alive! Norman is alive. I've been waiting for this. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. You were never going to get me to believe that this boy was dead. We had to wait like 6 volumes to find out, but oh my God. So, cut to flashback when Norman is being shipped out, but he's been picked by Peter Rattray and is said, I want you to help me with my goal. But he takes him to the special facility where every day he's tested and tested and tested and tested. But there's other children that are there that are being treated like horribly and disgustingly. And like Adam was part of this farm and he saw Norman there. So he knows that Norman is alive. But back at Goldie Pond, their plan, because these demons are so powerful, is that they're going to break up into 4 groups, and there are 5 poachers. So they separate and are like, okay, we're going to kill them individually, and then we're all going to meet up, and together we're going to kill Levius. We do see an amazing battle scene between 2 of the kids and 2 of the demons, and they do in fact kill them. So that was exciting, but 9 volumes down. Volume 10, Lord Bayan, who we thought that Zach and Pepe were going to kill, but now we don't see them, but we see Lord Bayan, so we presume that he has killed them. Lord Bayan captures Jillian and wounds her very severely and tells the boy that's with her, either you're going to take me to your leader, aka Lucas, so that he can, they can squash this rebellion and the poachers can keep doing what they've always done, or I'm gonna kill Jillian. And right when he goes to freaking snap her neck, Pepe comes up out of nowhere and blasts him, okay? Pepe isn't dead. Surprise, bitch. Bet you thought you'd never see me again. He throws a smoke bomb and they disappear. Lord Bayan is like, oh my God, those kids think that they outsmarted me, but really I let them go because I'm gonna chase after them and they're gonna lead me to their lair, aka their leader, aka Lucas, aka I can squash this rebellion. But really games on games on games on games on games, the kids know that he's following them and they're leading him into a trap where all the kids are kind of amassed so that they can form together to kill him because he's the second hardest poacher to kill other than Levius. Levius? Levis? Levius. We're going to say Levius. So in the heat of this battle with Lord Bayan, Oliver throws himself in front of Lucas to save him and sacrifices himself. Now, he doesn't die, but he is very seriously injured. The time that he saves for Lucas actually ends up making it so that Lucas can kill Lord Ban. Now let's flash back to Naus, okay? Remember Nauma dying? Naus eats her and somehow absorbs her strength. But surprise, surprise, Ray and Mystery Man show up and find one of the kids that's hiding from Naus. And Ray is like, tell me everything as fast as you possibly can. And of course, all Ray needs to hear is that Emma is in on this plan for him to be down. And then all Mystery Man needs to hear is the word Lucas for him to be ready to go. And that's exactly what he does. Before he was being completely unhelpful. And now he just jumps out from behind a bush and just with one shot takes out Naus. Then we go back to Emma and Levius at the very end. Levius, he is really, really good at anticipating people's moves before they make them. So it makes it almost impossible to kill him. And what they do is they're like, okay, we have to do something that he has never experienced before. So they electrocute him so that he will remain still so that they can shoot him. But when Nigel goes to shoot him with the one bullet they have left that can break this mask, he dodges it. And they're like, how in the world did he do that? But on the last page, right when they're like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? He can't be killed, what? Boom, boom, blam! A shot comes out of nowhere and gets him over the head, and it's Mystery Man. It's Mystery Man who is like, hey Levius, bet you never thought you'd see me again. Because Levius was part of this poaching whole thing, and he's the one that escaped, but he knows Levius. He knows him. But that's where we end this volume. Volume 11 opens with us finding out that the bullet that Mystery Man shot did in fact break Luvius's mask. Even though the mask is broken, he still remains incredibly difficult to kill. He's evading all of their attacks, remains incredibly dangerous, when out of nowhere, Adam, that giant boy that was from the experimental camp to the west, shows up and with one punch sends Luvius freaking flying and breaks his arm. What? Like, that's how strong he is. And he rips his jaw off with his hands. Oh my God. But they discover that the older a demon is, they have a regeneration limit. So if they're young, they can heal a lot faster, but Luvius has been around for 1,000 years, so it takes him longer to heal. So they attack him all at once, but out of nowhere, his long, like knife-like demon fingers just puncture through Emma, like just stabs her twice through the abdomen. So the battle keeps going on, but Emma is laying bleeding out on the ground. And in this beautiful moment, she is visited by like every single character in the series coming to her and telling her that she needs to keep going. She needs to keep fighting. She can't give up. And shockingly, the person who reaches their hand out and pulls her back into consciousness is Isabel. And I loved that. She takes a gun that has a flash bomb, but it's a different flash bomb than what Luvius is anticipating. She shoots it, it actually shocks him, and because he's blinded and stunned, that gives them the opportunity to finish him off. God bless, they've won. They rush Pepe and Emma back to triage because they are practically dead, and this is where Lucas and Mystery Man see each other, and their bro hug is iconic. They need to get out and get back to the shelter as fast as possible, but there's too many wounded for them to make it quickly, and Emma is going to die. And the wounded are like, leave us behind. We are willing to die to save this mission and to save the future and save your lives. And of course they're like, no, are you kidding me? Because that's what happened with Lucas and the Mystery Man, is that they all sacrificed themselves for him to live, and then he wasn't able to create the future. So they're like, no, we'll carry you. So Ray leads the main group on the longer but more safe journey back to the shelter, where Mystery Man picks up Emma and he takes her on the super short but super dangerous ride back because he knows what he's doing and he's way faster. When they get back to the shelter, they get Emma a blood transfusion, and we finally figure out Mystery Man's name, because when Emma wakes up and she sees him, she's like, let me reintroduce myself. I'm Emma. And he says, I'm Hugo. There's just this beautiful moment where it's everyone, like everyone's already gotten back and saying how much they love her and how much they appreciate her for everything that she's done. And Emma says that they have three possibilities. They can either escape and secretly go into the human world with just them. But the problem with that is that they don't know if the human world knows that they exist. They don't know how the human world would react to them. They could possibly be experimented on. They could be killed. They could be sent back. Or they could try to start a war, and it could possibly end humanity forever, because if they let the demons start hunting humans again, humans might not be able to win. Or go to the leader or like the demon god and create a new promise where they can actually live a safe and happy life. Now, of course, the family is like, we're with you, we're down, like you've never led us astray before, we're ready to go, because we don't want another child to ever get hurt. So that's where we end this volume. Volume 12, where we see that Peter is hunting down the children with help of his stone cold assassin, Andrew. But back at the bunker, the kids use the phone that's supposed to connect them to the supporters, and somebody actually answers. And it's a real living human being. They talk in Morse code and they say, I'm so sorry, I can't come and get you right now. I'll come as soon as I can, but just know Peter Ratchery is the enemy. They find these notes in the library, and by deciphering them, they are told that they need to go to this place called the Dragon of Kuvitatal, the Dragon Place. Of course, they decide to split up, and then we get a little flash of Phil at Gracefield House, and we discover that yes, he is still alive and well, but only 6 of the children from the under 5 at Gracefield House are still there. The rest of them have been split up and sent to different facilities, and we do not know if they're alive or what happened with them. And we also don't know what happened to Mother, because as of that night of the escape, she disappeared, assumedly taken away. We don't know where she is. Okay, this is where shit gets wacky. So we get to this dragon place, and it turns out to be runes where if you look at them aerially, it's a dragon's eye. Now, when they go to the center of the eye, nobody sees anything except Emma. So the vision she gets is of this giant dragon and this tiny little like demon creature who we presume to be the demon god that made this promise originally. And he tells Emma, you're not really here. I'm not really here. You need to come and actually find me. And to do that, he gives her this long riddle, of course. But they head back to the shelter and they're deciphering this code, which tells them they need to go to a temple that will somehow lead them to the 7 walls. They do a lot of traipsing around, a lot of trying to find this temple, and they've been disguising themselves as demons in order to walk around in demon territory to find this temple. When they find it, it's epic, it's amazing, giant, and there are 6 towers, and each tower has a mural, and if you look at them in sequence, it tells you how to get to the 7 walls. Of course, they're excited, but the second that they get back to the shelter and they're gonna celebrate, Andrew, remember Peter's deadly assassin? He busts in and is like, I'm here to kill you. But they know the secret tunnels better than Andrew does, so they escape, and Hugo and Lucas say, you guys go on ahead. We're gonna make sure that they don't come after you. But what they're really saying is, we're gonna kill them because they're never gonna stop hunting us, and they don't want the children to have to commit murder. So they're like, we're gonna take that burden. You go on ahead. But when they go back in, they say they know they're gonna die. They don't die in this one, but at the very end, they are presuming this to be a suicide mission. So on to volume 13. Volume 13. Whew, we've got things to say. Okay, we start out with a long shootout between Hugo and Lucas and Andrew and his men. Now, because of the surprise attack, and this is their territory, they successfully get it down to 2 men before both Hugo and Lucas are mortally wounded. Now, right when Andrew is giving his like victory speech, Lucas fires his last shot into a bunch of canisters of combustible gas that is being held in the armory and blows them all sky high. Emma is visited by Hugo in her dreams, where he tells her that his death is not her fault and that she is going to change the world. And of course, we get a chapter of Hugo's last thoughts before he passes away, and it's him reuniting with his family from his original house, and he hasn't seen them in 13 years, and that was so beautiful. And then Oliver tells Emma that Lucas actually gave him a piece of paper right before they were attacked that is a message that was sent to them from a supporter. So the message basically is a recording of Minerva telling them he wants to end these Neverlands and that they need to meet him at a series of numbers. It's basically a code that they need to decipher. Because they're not totally sure if Hugo and Lucas are dead and they don't want to just leave them behind, they send a couple kids of the younger ones to go and check back at the shelter and just see if they're alive. Now, of course, Andrew isn't dead. He finds these children, and out of the 5 of them, he kills 3, and he captures 2 of them to use as bait to lure the other kids in so that he can kill them. And then Ray is like, this is my moment. He's like, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna kill him. And right when he goes to pull the trigger, a demon comes out of nowhere and just eats Andrew whole. Which is really lucky, honestly. And then cut to Minerva is alive. James Rattray, William Minerva, I knew it, but he's alive. So during this whole year and a half, Minerva and his little gang, we meet a bunch of new characters. He has been going out and breaking into these mass production farms and blowing them up and ending them, and then also breaking kids out of other farms. So he's just been on this whole mission to save these children. So he has sent some of the kids that he has saved out to find our kids. So two of the kids that are out on this reconnaissance, they are attacked by demons. And our kids hear this happening. They go out and they're like, oh my God, those are humans. So they kill the demons. And then these two kids, they're like, Minerva sent us to get you, to bring you back to our base. And they're like, we have medics, we have food, we have everything. It's like paradise and we'll take you there. So that's where we end this one. And honestly, I am hooked. Volume 14, they get to the shelter. There's a bunch of kids there. And Emma is invited to meet Mr. Minerva himself. And it's Norman. It's Norman. Norman is Mr. Minerva. Are you freaking kidding me? The reunion is priceless. It's so freaking good. Ray is so overwhelmed with emotion. He doesn't know what to do. And he slaps Norman in the face. Slaps him right across the face and then tackles him and Emma into a hug as they all cry. But Norman has learned a lot. So he shares that he's learned the demon's true nature. They evolve from eating. So if they eat a bug, they learn what a bug knows. If they eat a deer, they learn what a deer knows. And then they ate a human and everything changed. So when they eat humans, they can get human characteristics. And then they also can gain intellect. And that's why in the first couple of volumes, when I said there was different kinds of demons, there isn't. The demons that are in the woods that look like beasts or monsters, those are the base form of these demons. Those are demons that are eating deer and berries and bugs and such. But the demons that are eating humans have more fully formed frontal lobes. They can have intellect, but they have to maintain it by continuing to eat humans. Now, the ones that are the higher ups are eating the Grace Field House children. They are the ones, and that's why they're being tested and getting such high IQs, because the demons want to get smarter and smarter and smarter. And the only way to do that is by eating very smart children. Norman says that his plan is to annihilate the entire demon race and to create this world, this demon world, into a human world for them to live in. Ray goes to Emma and says, something's changed. You don't want Norman's plan to happen. And she denies it for a little bit, but then ends up revealing that she has changed her mind and that she doesn't want to have to kill demons. Humans eat animals like deer and chicken and pork, but demons are eating animals like humans and living the exact same way. And they have friends and they have family and they go to school and they have jobs and loved ones and everything. And she's like, I want to find some way that we can live harmoniously, but I don't see a way to do that. And Ray is like, well, I thought that Sanju and Mujika didn't eat humans. They are intellectual and they're smart and they had human characteristics. Why is it that they don't eat humans and they were capable of intellect? The last page, oh my God, we see Norman going to meet one of the pawns. They say, we received your letter, William Minerva. And Norman's like, I'm here to discuss what I wrote in it. I came to officially form an alliance. Let's work together to destroy this world. But he's talking to a group of demons. So what is happening? I don't know, but I immediately am picking up volume 15. Volume 15. So Norman meets with this lower level clan who has been withheld human meat by the aristocrats. The higher ups are the ones who decide what demon clans are going to get human meat and how much of it they're going to get. And if they upset them in any way, they just won't give them human meat and then will literally make them go extinct and force them to comply with whatever rules they come up with or whatever they fancy. So this clan is sick of it, and Norman says, let's make an alliance and we'll take out the aristocrats and we'll leave the farms fully intact, but you have to let go of all the children that are currently there. We'll go to the human world and you can continue the farms however you want, and you can use the Rattray clan, Peter Rattray, to create more humans because we're planning on killing them anyway. So you can take that and then we'll head off. They agree, but Norman's plan is to create a civil war between the demons so that they will kill each other, essentially. But when Norman tells Emma and Ray about this plan, Emma is like, did you know that there are demons that do not require human meat? Norman's reaction is not, oh my God, what? His reaction is, wait, the evil-blooded demon is still alive? And he's talking about Mujika. Apparently Mujika is like this huge, like prophetic, like story that has been going on for the last 700 years. 700 years ago, there was a demon clan who was being withheld food for 2 years. But when this clan was about to go extinct, Mujika showed up out of nowhere and saved them because she is an anomaly of a demon that does not require human meat to have intellect or human characteristics, nor to maintain them. But her blood can give other demons the ability to do the same and become anomalies like her. So she saves this whole clan. Now this becomes huge talk. It gets around and it gets to the aristocrats who decide they're gonna kill them. So they hunt down all of the people that she's given her blood to, kills all of them and eats them. And by eating them, they ingest some of her blood and they get the ability to not have to eat human meat. But the reason that they do this is that they're scared of her power because they want to be able to maintain who can get human meat, how much of it they can get. And by killing Mujika, they think, okay, well, we can still reign supreme and have complete dominion over this world. Norman says that in this case, they're going to have to catch and kill Mujika and Sanju. Now, Emma and Ray kind of freak out about this, but Norman says, listen, do you think that Mujika is going to sit by idly and allow us to annihilate her entire race? And Emma is like, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm not comfortable letting you commit genocide. And if there's even a possibility of both of the races surviving and not having to kill each other, I think we should take it. Now, Norman's completely against this, and Emma is like, I want to go to the 7 walls. We're going to meet with this demon god. We're going to create a new plan. We're going to come back and see if that can maybe appease things. And Norman is like, I understand what you're saying, but you haven't changed my mind. I'm going to continue with my plan to kill the aristocrats. But if you can come back and fix this before my plan goes ahead to do this, okay, but I'm not gonna delay. We see Norman and his like gang of older kids or adults, and one of them has this sort of like attack in their brain. And it is said that these attacks have been going on for a while, but that recently they're getting more severe and more frequent. And apparently it's something to do with the experiments that were happening on them at Lambda, but it seems like they don't have long to live. Then we get a flash of the imperial capital where we see the aristocrats they've been speaking of, and we learn that there's also a queen. Like there's a queen demon, and she is stunning, by the way. The queen says, I want you to, all of you, to amass all of your armies. We're gonna join together and we're gonna find, hunt down, and kill these rebels. Now here's the thing though, they think that it's demons that are doing this, that demons are breaking in and getting these kids to eat them because they're mad that they're not getting the human meat they deserve. And Norman planned this and made it look like it was demons on purpose so that they would be targeting each other. Geniusly, Ray's plan is to get the armies to be deployed so that the armies and guards surrounding the aristocrats and the queen will be deplenished and make it easier for the humans to kill them. Cut to, we see Emma and Ray. They've opened the door to the 7 walls. And they're like, oh my God, we're gonna open the door and we're gonna see the demon god. Oh, but when they open the door, what do they see? Gracefield House. What? They go in, it's eerily quiet, it's freaking weird, and they're like, let's go explore and see if we can find somebody. But when they go to explore, the walls start moving, like a portal opens up and Emma falls through it, and it's like a Twilight Zone fun home, and it's so creepy. And then like kids pop up out of nowhere, mother pops up out of nowhere, and is like, play with us, play with us, play with us. It's terrifying. And then they turn into skeletons and they're like trying to kill them. And then the demon god, you hear his voice. He's like, you found me. We're going to play a game. You need to find me. And to find me, this like freaking tunnel opens up and he's like, come down here. This is where I am. And that's where we end. Like, what? Volume 16, we are back at this pseudo Gracefield house that's really like a Twilight Zone of a maze. But every time they open a door, it leads to a different room in a different direction. So say they open a door and it leads to the dining hall, but it's upside down. They close the door, open it again, and it leads to like the monitoring room, but it's sideways. And also every time they go through a door, time is altered. Ray becomes an adult and Emma becomes a baby, or vice versa. It is very wonky. But in all of this, they realize that the 7 walls are actually the 7 elements that make up space, and that's front, back, up, down, left, right, and time. And Emma realizes that their subconscious is altering this plane and that they're actually creating everything. Because every time they open a door, it leads to somewhere that they recognize and that they had just been kind of thinking of right before the door opened. And that's why it leads him to that place. So she tells him, listen, remember when we were children and we would imagine things and it would be reality? She's like, we need to call back to our childhood roots. You need to believe that this can work. And if we believe that we are at this place where this demon god is, we'll go there, we'll be there. And they try to do it, but Ray is so much of an overthinker and a doubter that he can't get himself to believe. But Emma, she is very childish and she has that child heart and she is capable of doing it, but Ray isn't, and he gets transported back to the shelter. Emma goes and meets the demon god alone and says, I want to make a new promise. What I want is I want all of the human children at these farms to be released, sent to the human world, and then I want you to make it impossible for anyone to travel between the worlds. Impossible. And he says, done, I'll do it. But here's my reward I want. We don't know what it is yet, but I'm sure it's going to be horrible. Back at the shelter, Norman asks Dawn and Gilda to go find and protect Mujika and Sanju, but he tells Dawn and Gilda that his plan is to find them and protect them until Emma gets back. And if Emma's plan doesn't work, then he'll kill Sanju and Mujika. Now, Norman's full of it. Norman is full of it. He's actually having them followed by some of his group so that they can lead them to Sanju and Mujika and that they can ambush them. So he sends along Ash. She was like living in a house with this demon that took her as a baby. To the Lambda crew, they think that they saved her by killing this demon and taking her. But really, from her perspective, they killed her dad because this demon kidnapped her as a baby because she had a disformity and he has a disformity and all the other demons think he's so ugly and lowly. And he raises her as his daughter and loves her. And she says, I don't care that he ate human meat and that he's a demon. He's my dad and he's the only dad I've ever had and I loved him. She agrees with Dawn and Gilda about saving Mujika. So she partners up with them, but then of course they get ambushed by this group that Norman sent along, but we end off this volume with an ambush. Volume 17. Adam is attacking Sanju, but he has a seizure like all of the Lambda crew has been having. And when he has a seizure, Mujika goes to help him and she gives him herbs. And this kind of makes them have a stalwart of this battle because they're kind of looking at each other like, you're helping me, but I was sent to kill you, but like, I don't know. And then Dawn and Gilda realize that Norman completely lied to them. He has no plans of an agreement, of negotiation, of peace. He wants war and he wants to kill all the demons. And they beg Mujika and Sanju to please help them to take down Norman, which is very interesting. This is a very interesting plot twist, is that Norman is now the enemy. So they head off to the Imperial capital, and then Emma has just come back from this realm that she was in with the demon god. She tells the whole shelter, we did it. Like, I made a new promise. This is great. And they're like, by the way, Norman is like headed to the capital. He's about to be there and he's going to kill everybody. And that's going to ruin everything and ruin the whole plan that you set up. So she's like, oh my God, we have to get to the Imperial City as fast as possible. They get there at the same time as Sanju, Mujika, Dawn, Gilda, and Ash. And their reunion is so good. And oh my God, Emma and Mujika's hug is so beautiful. So they form a plan where Emma and Ray are gonna go into the capital and hunt down Norman to try and stop him, while Sanju and Mujika are going to go and try and save and settle the demon citizens because Norman set off bombs in the town to disperse the guards. Now there are only 300 in the capital and they close the gates so that the guards and people can't come back in, and there's less people for them to be guarding the royals and the aristocrats, which honestly is a great plan. So the Lambda crew is there, but Norman says to hold back, and instead he sends in Galen, who is the demon who was, him and his whole clan were exiled 700 years ago and deprived of human meat. And he's like, go and get your revenge, okay? But really his plan, he just wants them to kill each other other as much as possible, and then him and his crew are gonna go in and kill the rest of them. Gillen and his crew attack, and honestly, they do a really good job, and they kill so many demons. But the queen is a different beast entirely. She is so strong. So when they battle, the only people left alive at the end are the queen and her right-hand man, which is when the Lambda crew comes in, because they're like, perfect, there's only 2 of you. Now we're all, as a group, gonna fight y'all and kill you. She is deplenished because she has been fighting and using her energy. Now she's slower, she's weaker, she can't regenerate as quickly. So the Lambda crew just attacks over and over and over and over and over again. So it weakens her enough that Norman can finally kill her. And to put insult on top of injury, Norman emits this gas that it's a poison that he created that forces demons to de-evolve or degenerate and forces them to go back into their like beast mode. Norman finally did it. He did what he wanted, what he set out for. He killed the aristocrats, the royalty, the 5 big houses, the queen, and now the rest of the demon population will eventually go extinct without food regulation, without rules, without the farms or anything. And Emma and Ray, they get there at this moment right after he's killed the queen. And they're literally screaming, no, we did it, Ray. Like, Norman, like, you don't have to fight anymore. We made a new promise. And they see Norman, and then they look around at the destruction and all of the dead bodies and everything that Norman's done. And Norman turns and looks at them so calmly and says, too bad. I guess you were too late, Emma. What? Volume 18? Look at this cover. Is this not stunning? Are you not stunned? Norman tries to act all casual and is like, well, you're too late. And Emma sees through that immediately. She's like, cut the BS. I know that you're terrified. I know you're suffering and you're harboring all of this burden alone, like always, and I'm not gonna let you do that. And she's so savage, she cuts him to the quick. She's like, to me, you're a small child shaking in fear. You're stronger and kinder than anyone, but you're also arrogant and a coward. A coward, she said. You don't have to protect us. We want to walk next to you. Norman says that they don't understand what he's done and what he's done to get here. And they're like, yeah, we know that you poisoned this town. We know that you betrayed Dawn and Gilda. We know that you tried to kill Mujika and Sanju, and we love you anyway. Norman breaks down and he says that he's dying and he doesn't have long to live and that he's just been fighting as hard as he can until he dies so that his life basically will have meant something. That while he doesn't regret killing the aristocrats or these demons, if there's a possibility of not killing anyone else in the future, that is what he wants. Now, the Lambda crew kind of freaks out because they are so thirsty for revenge, but eventually they calm down and realize that they care more about the person who saved them, Norman, than they do about the demons who tormented them. Back in the town, the poison is making all of the demons turn into these like monsters savagely and killing each other. And Mujika and Sanju are like, maybe our blood can help them, but they're like, how are we gonna get them to drink our blood? And Sanju is like, this is taking too long, and he just cuts his hand off and throws it into a demon's mouth. And it works. And a win is a win. Of course the queen comes back because nobody can stay dead. And she's from the original like demon royalty line. And that lineage has 2 cores instead of 1. It's like if you had like 2 souls or 2 hearts, and they only killed 1 of them. So she comes back as this like horrifically deformed monster, and she's eating everything in sight. Demons, corpses, humans, it doesn't matter. And oh my God, these faces start coming out of her body, and one of them is Sister Crone, and she's like, hey kids, it's been a minute, and it's, oh my God, it is so scary. So basically it's everyone or anything that she's ever eaten, and Mujika and Sanju show up, and the queen is like, hey little brother, and we find out that Sanju is the queen's brother. That plot twist aside, they're all fighting, and Mujika's like, y'all don't need to fight, she already killed herself. They're like, what? And she says, she has been overeating. She's eaten hundreds of these corpses and demons, and they're all full of poison. So she just poisoned herself, and there is no way that she can regenerate fast enough to get rid of all the poison that she's eaten. And she's right. And I was like, you know what? Even though that kind of seems anticlimactic, it is like poetic that the queen accidentally killed herself. So Mujika tells Emma and the crew that they need to go back to the shelter because the Imperial Army is headed that way to destroy it, and that her and Sanju are going to help the demons and settle the town. So we're back on this Peter Rattree bullshit. He's leading the Imperial Army, and he's leading them to the shelter. He shows up, and everyone that wasn't a part of the war at the Imperial capital is captured. And Jillian, when she gets back, she tortures one of the demons into telling her where they took the kids. And it's Gracefield House. It's Gracefield House. Finally, we're actually going back to Gracefield House. It is 3 a.m. and I just finished the last 2 volumes. And it was perfect. So in volume 19, Peter Rattree and the army discover from surveillance owls that the queen and the regents and the aristocrats are dead. And he's like, oh my God, perfect. Then I'll be king. So he goes to Gracefield House, where the kids are. And he goes, welcome back, Grandma. Isabella? Oh my God. When I tell you the scream I scrumped when Isabella came in. I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, but I love Isabella. I love Isabella. We get a flashback of how this happened, and it's Isabella a year and 11 months ago, and she is awaiting death because of letting the children escape. Now, Peter Rattree comes up, and Isabella is like, okay, take me to my death. I'm ready. I want out. I want to die. And Peter's like, you know, I see that, but you're too useful to me to kill. So I'm going to give you an option. I need you to become a grandma and work for me and my plan. And if you do this, I will have your tattoo removed and I'll send you to the human world and you can finally have true freedom. What do you think? So obviously she accepts. We get to see everybody's reaction to seeing Mom again, including Emma and Ray when they come in, when they arrive at the shelter and they're all like, Mom? So Peter gets his army to go and hunt down Sanju and Mujika and hold them captive, but then also hunt down everyone who got their blood and assassinate them. So Peter has the Lambda crew held hostage, and he says that his plan is to demolish all of the top class farms and to destroy all of the mass production farms and create all of them to be Lambda farms so that he can mass produce highly intelligent children to make this like the Elon Musk of human meat factories. Oliver comes up behind him with a gun and is like, think again, bitch. So they get Peter Rattree on his knees, as they should, and surround him, all the kids holding guns. But Peter's like, I think there's something you forgot, kids. And the sisters and moms of all of the houses come out with guns. And then out of the crowd comes Mom or Grandma Isabella. And oh my God, looking like a badass she is. I'm just gonna read directly because this is like one of the best plot twists in the whole series. So she comes out and she's looking at the kids and Emma and she says, you've destroyed everything. You fought and fought and fought. But no matter how much you resist, it still ends up this way. Despair is unavoidable. You and everyone else returned. You didn't learn your lesson, and this is the result. All of you did splendidly. Perfect scores for everyone. And then she turns that gun on Peter Rattree, and so do all of the moms. So we get a flashback of her gathering all of the sisters and moms together and telling them that she's going to betray the farm. They freak out, and she's like, no, stop, listen. Do you really want to live this way? I know where you're coming from. I had the same feeling. I just wanted to survive, and this is the only way that there was to survive, but you're not actually going to live a life, because think about this. The grandma before Isabel was taken out just like that. They didn't care about her, even though she was a grandma. She's just food. So if we all band together, we can take them out. And of course, the women, being the capital W women they are, band together. Isabella is like, she looks at all the kids and they're calling her mom and she's like, I don't deserve your forgiveness. I don't deserve your love. You have every right to hate me. So what she says to them is, I didn't do this for you. I did it for me. You just happen to be on the same side and have the same interests. But Emma sees right through that and is like, thank you, Mom. And that, oh my God, I cried. And then in a truly preposterous twist of events, at the soon-to-be assassination of Mujika and Sanju, Luvius appears. Because I guess he's alive. I swear Connie is the only character that stays dead in this series. Luvius had 2 cores, because apparently everybody does. He comes back and he stops the assassination of Sanju and Mujika, and he's like, oh, is this the evil blood So he drinks it and they're like, oh my God, what are you doing? It's poison. And he's like, no, that's just what my dumbass sister was telling you. But actually, this is what's gonna save you. This is what stops you from degenerating. This is what makes it so you do not have to eat human meat. You can eat whatever you want. But she didn't want you to know that because the aristocrats were using the farms and using the human meat production to control you, to have you under their thumb, to be able to kill whoever they want, punish whoever they want, reward whoever they want. And do you want to live like that? And they're like, no, but like human meat is delicious. And he's like, I get it. I get it. It tastes really good. But do you want to be a prisoner financially, socially, like everything? Do you want that to be true? And they were like, now that you say that, no, we don't. So Luvius, with one speech, basically like abolishes all of the farms. And then at the very end, Peter Ratchery is like, if I just kill Emma, then all of this will be over because she's the leader. Sure, Peter. Okay, the last volume. I want you to take a second and I want you to look at this cover. Oh my God. Okay, we pick up right where we left off in volume 19 with Peter trying to kill Emma, but Emma is like, hold on, we're not gonna kill you. I want you to come with us to the human world. And Peter's like, what are you talking about? And Emma makes a really good point where she's like, life and circumstances brought you to this point. You were not born this way. You were not born wanting to kill people. And she's like, if you had been born to Gracefield House, we probably would have been friends. I want to save you. Come with us and be saved and go to the human world. And Peter's like, no, because I know the human world and it's just as bad as this one. Maybe they don't eat each other, but there is corruption, there's war, there's evil out there. And the demons are just a personification of society. So no, I'm not gonna go there. So he takes a knife and he slits his own throat right in front of them. Emma is very shook up about this and she is not gonna let another human die, even if they're scared. So she goes to Isabella and she's like, I want you and all of the mothers to come with us. Now, all of them are confused, especially Isabella, by the kids' compassion. And they're like, why in the world would you want to save us after everything we did? And Isabella is like, no, we'll repent by staying here in the demon world. Ray is hilarious. He's like, get over it already. Oh, you have regrets? Take care of them in the human world. I'm glad I'm alive, and it's because I'm alive that I can atone for my sins and clear my conscience. And all of the kids rush to hug her as she sobs and begs for their forgiveness. We're gonna flash back to the demon capital where Luvius just gave this speech, and they're all chanting that they want him to be king. And he's like, no, I can't do that. I only have one core now. And he feels like a shell of himself. And he's like, I'm not fit for the task. But do you know who is? Mujika. You should make her queen. And she's shocked, but she saved all of their lives and they are more than willing to make her queen. So she gets crowned as the queen of the demon world. The kids hear from the surveillance footage that they have abolished the farms. And of course they all rejoice and are so happy because this means that none of the children are in danger anymore. And that means that they can finally go and rescue Phil and the crew. And I'm just gonna take just a second. I need you to see these photos of Phil. Phil, he's so cute. And then we're uniting and it's so sweet. So I just needed to put that in there. And Isabella has a really beautiful moment where she goes and sees Sister Carol, who has been taking care of the Gracefield House children, and tells them, we're all free now. All the farms are being abolished. It's over. It's over now. We can never erase what we have done, but now we can just love them normally. And then something happens that literally made me so angry. So a nearby demon hears about this and he's super pissed because he thinks human meat is delicious and it's his every right to be able to eat them. So he's like, might be my last chance to nab up some of these kids. So he just like busts in when they're all rejoicing and he goes to kill Emma. But at the last second, Isabella jumps in front of Emma. She gets stabbed 3 times. And she's like, you will not lay a hand on my children. Another demon comes out of nowhere and kills that demon. And all the kids rush to try and save mom. And they say, why? How come? We couldn't understand. Next, we couldn't forgive her. We suspected that mom was the same as Crone. We saw her as an enemy, as someone to defeat. But once we got outside, all we remembered was how kind she was. I finally figured out why. It's because her kindness and love were all genuine. We still had anger and other pent-up feelings, but we still love you. We all love you so much, Mom. Even if you can't forgive yourself, to us, you're our only mother. When I tell you I sobbed, I'm about to start crying right now. And with the last of her strength, she hugs all of the kids and tells them that she loves them. Mujika and Sanju meet up with them at Gracefield House, and they go underground where the portal to the human world is. But before they go in, they're like, what about the reward, Emma? What is it that the demon asked for? You're not gonna die, right? You're not gonna stay in the demon world. You're gonna come to the human world with us, right? And she's like, yeah, sure. But really, what the demon asked for was her family as a reward, but he had already made the promise that the kids were going to be taken to the human world, so he cannot take their lives, so he decides to go for the second best option, and that's to take Emma's memories. So she will not remember herself, her past, her upbringing, her family. She won't remember the demon world. She won't remember anything. So they go to be transported, and Emma and Mujika say goodbye, and they get transported to New York City, or at least some of them do. Everyone is scattered around the world. And when they wake up, Emma's gone. Ray and Norman quickly realize the plan that Emma must have made. And out of nowhere, Mike Ratchery, Peter's uncle, shows up and is like, I know about the new promise. I know everything. We're here to help you. He says that his group is currently scouring the world, finding all the sisters, moms, and kids and gathering them up and telling them that they are safe. Now, all the kids are devastated about Emma, and they realize that none of this would have been possible without her. That her gung-ho, like, we can do it no matter what, and her bravery and her compassion is the only reason that they're alive. So they're willing to do anything for her, and they're willing to do anything to find her. So we see that Emma landed in this snowy mountain where she is found by a very kind older gentleman who takes her in, and she doesn't remember her name, she doesn't remember anything. 2 years pass where the kids are desperately hunting for her, and they're getting clues, and Emma is in this little town, and she realizes that she dropped her necklace, which is the amulet that Mujika gave her. So when she goes back to find it, sees it on the ground, goes to pick it up, and when she stands up, she is faced with the entire crew has been searching for her. So Mujika's necklace led her back to them, basically. Of course, the kids are overwhelmed with excitement. They're so happy, but Emma hits them with the gut punch of, who are all of you? And they're so upset and they're crying, they can't believe it. But Norman is like, I'm glad, because at least you're alive and there's the possibility of you being happy in the future. And he tells her what's been going on in the last 2 years. He says they're all going to school, that modern medicine has cured the Lambda kids, and that developed technology and modern medicine has helped rehabilitate the children of the mass production farms. And he says that it's all because of Emma. And in this beautiful quote, he says, everything we have, you gave to us. You paid for it with everything you had. Emma doesn't remember any of this. She doesn't recognize any of them, but she feels this warmth and love and joy and pain when she looks at them, even though she doesn't know who they are and she doesn't understand why. And she starts crying because she realizes that without knowing it, she has been desperate to see all of them. And Norman is like, it's okay. It's okay that you can't remember us. It's okay if you never remember us. It means something just having you in this life, and we will love you anyway. Even if you are not the same person, without your memories, maybe you act differently. We don't care. We love you and we will never stop loving you. Come with us. And they say, screw destiny. Let's live together. And they basically start like a giant house, like not an orphanage, but this giant house, and they all live together. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I did it. I finally finished all 20 volumes. I love this series. I love it. I'm currently watching the anime, which is not as good as the manga, but still good. So if you've gotten this far into the video, 1, I'm shocked. 2, thank you so much. And 3, if you have gotten this far into the video and you want to show that you do care, leave the yellow heart emoji in the comments. I will be very surprised and very appreciative. If you want to see any more manga content, please let me know that there is an audience out there for it. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to follow me, if you want to subscribe, if you want to follow me on Instagram, Patreon, anything, those links are going to be down below. And I want to say for everybody to have an amazing day, evening, night, dusk, dawn, whatever it is you're having in whatever part of the world you are currently having it in. Bye.
For change, looking for pain, pulling a mob, pushing a train. I'll never stop, stick to a lane, pick up the pieces and go rearrange. I'll be the best above all the rest, put me to the test, and expect nothing less, you check as I'm chess, what's happening next, yeah. He got the venom, a tangible weapon, no coming in second, this life is a lesson. He got a new engine from pain, it's a blessing, new focus, no guessing, just bold and obsession, all in his possession. You got their attention, now leave an impression and take your redemption, just kill no discretion, your mind is a weapon, 11-11, it's time for progression,